there are many classical Indian philosophical systems who don't believe that everything is dependently originated. So the author is saying that I'm not surprised when the earlier classical philosophical systems, they don't accept that everything is dependently originated. But what I'm so amazed, what makes me so surprised, is to see among Buddhists who take every phenomena to be dependently originated, and at the same time not accepting the emptiness nature. Because if you accept everything as dependently originated, there's dependency. Dependency means emptiness of independent existence. So how come that you accept dependent origination and not accept emptiness? Yeah.
The door that leads to no intrinsic existence, this unexcelled door of dependent origination, through its name alone, if one grasps at intrinsic existence. Now, this person, next continues, who lacks the unrivaled entrance, well travelled by the noble ones, by what means should one guide him to the excellent path that pleases you?
Yeah. Okay. So what this is saying is that, say, in order to get into the ashram, there is the main entrance. So like that, in order to get into the main entrance of, the main abode of nirvana, the entrance is the understanding of dependent origination. And if you, while you accept things as dependent originated, then at the same time you are not really entering into the nirvana, because you are not accepting the emptiness nature. Without accepting the emptiness nature, you can't really get into nirvana or achieve nirvana. So, if this is the case, this is the main gate to understand emptiness, and you accept this gate and not enter into the understanding of emptiness, then from what other ways can we take this person towards the understanding of emptiness? There is no other way.
Why they are saying to the excellent path that pleases you?
Yeah. So excellent path that pleases the Buddha is the understanding of emptiness. It is through seeing everything as dreamlike, the emptiness of independent existence. When someone understands this, then you can get into nirvana. So when the whole purpose of the Buddha coming on the earth is to take beings, samsaric beings, away from samsara into nirvana. And what takes the beings there is this understanding, the wisdom, seeing everything as empty of independent existence. So this is what pleases the Buddhas, yeah.
Intrinsic nature, uncreated and non-contingent, dependent origination, contingent and created. How can these two converge upon a single basis without contradiction?
Say, this group of Buddhist philosophers or Buddhist practitioners, while they accept everything to be dependent originated, they also accept them to be intrinsic existence, intrinsically existent. Intrinsic existence means uncontrived, independent, uncontrived and non-contingent, not dependent. Whereas dependent origination means contingency and also contrived, something which is made out of other things. So how can these two go together? These two are contradictory. Yes?
Therefore, whatever originates dependently, though primordially free of intrinsic existence, appears as if it does possess intrinsic existence. So, you taught all this to be illusion-like.
Yeah. So in actuality, everything that exists as dependently existent dependent nature, they are lacking intrinsic or true existence. But when they appear to us, everything that appears to us should necessarily appear as intrinsically existent or truly existent, which means that there is a difference in the appearance and the reality. The reality is being empty of intrinsic existence, and appearance-wise, there is intrinsic existence appearing. So there's always a gap between the appearance and the reality. So therefore, the Buddha described every phenomena as illusion-like, right? Every phenomena here not referring to the emptiness itself, referring to anything that comes to our mind which views the conventional phenomena.
Okay. Through this very fact, I understand well the statement that to what you have taught, those opponents who challenge you cannot find fault that accord with reason.
Okay, so the Buddha, when he was explaining how everything is illusion-like or dream-like, on the basis of understanding dependent origination, this is the reason. So, there are so many other contemporary philosophical teachers who try to challenge the Buddha by saying that what you said is not correct, but they don't have any concrete, sound reason. Whereas against the Buddha's very strong reason of dependent origination to prove that things are empty of independent existence and how things are illusion-like or dream-like.
Why is this so? Because by declaring these chances for reification and denigration towards things seen and unseen are made most remote.
Okay, so why this is the case is that because of understanding dependent origination, when you understand dependent origination, then it helps to distance yourself from the extreme of reification. Reification is exaggerating that although things don't exist truly and independently, then you exaggerate that things are absolutely existent, truly existent, and independent existent. So this is distanced from you when you understand that things are dependently existent, one. And the other is the denigration. If you understand dependent origination well, again, the things which do exist, you will not say that they are not existent. They are not existent. You don't say this. Because dependent origination, understanding dependent origination, you understand that things originate. Originate means things do exist. Things come into being. Things come into existence. Right? So this helps us distance, or this helps us be freed from the extreme of denigration or nihilism. Yeah.
Through this very path of dependent origination, the rationale for your speech being peerless, convictions arise in me also that your other words are valid too.
Okay. So this teaching on dependent origination, when you really start gaining a glimpse, a taste of dependent origination, the subtlety, the sophistication of this, and then once you get a glimpse of it on the experience level, then it unfolds all other problems, right? So that the other things the Buddha taught, say for example, if someone like Dr. Manmohan Singh, who is always very honest and very truthful and highly knowledgeable, so when you sit with him and then you converse with him and then you see that he is highly knowledgeable, number one, and then what he is saying is purely out of compassion, right, and out of honesty. So then, when you gain confidence in that level, very advanced level, then smaller things that he talks about, you will have sure confidence with other things as well of what he says. So likewise, when you understand dependent origination as something so reliable and something so true, then all the other teachings given by the Buddha, you easily gain confidence in them as well. Yeah.
You who speak excellently by seeing as it is, for those who tread in your footsteps, all degenerations will become remote, for the root of all faults will be undone.
Okay. So now, this understanding of dependent origination, which in turn will take you to the understanding of the emptiness of all phenomena, as how all phenomena is of dreamlike nature. Once you understand that, then this is the wisdom which dismantles our ignorance. The ignorance which believes that things are all solidly existent and truly existent. So once this ignorance is eliminated or undermined, then all the sufferings, all problems which are piled or which come as an offshoot of this ignorance, they all automatically disappear through this understanding of dependent origination.
But those who turn away from your teaching, though they may struggle with hardship for a long time, faults increase even more as if being called forth, for they make firm the view of self.
Okay, now this is another very important point. Say, last time we were discussing about undermining attachment. When you undermine attachment, there are so many ways of undermining it. One of the ways, most effective one, is knowing that the object that you feel attached to is actually your mental creation. This is the most powerful one. There are other means as well. Say, for example, if a man is attached to a female or a female is attached to a man, then you think about the impurities of the other person. So how the person is, how the person the other side to whom you feel attached to, how that person is simply composition of lungs, heart, intestines, blood, and all these things. And then they're all simply plastered by this, nice skins. Otherwise, if you just take them apart, then you will immediately feel repulsive of the other person. Then immediately the attachment disappears. Now the question is, so this may help you get away from attachment, but it can trigger kind of frustration and disgust, which is also another form of negative emotion, right? So which means that if you, other than this method, seeing the wisdom which sees things as illusion-like, other than that, if you resort to other means, it might have some immediate benefit, but there is a side effect as well, right? So, if you turn away from this teaching of the wisdom of dependent origination and the emptiness of independent existence, if you turn away from that teaching, if you resort to other methods to undermine your attachment or to undermine your anger and so forth, then there's a side effect coming about. And on top of that, because that you have, because that you don't think of the illusion-like nature, the dream-like nature of every phenomena, then deep inside there's a very strong clinging that I exist independently. As long as there is this feeling that I exist independently, anything which is conducive to this I, you feel attached, natural attachment. Anything which is unconducive to this self, to which you feel so solid and independent, then naturally aversion arises, right? So, if you turn away from this teaching of illusion-like nature of all phenomena, then all problems you attract, because all problems somehow they are connected to the ego, to this sense of I, and this sense of I, as long as it is there with you, no matter where you go in solitary retreat, you go in the ocean, wherever you go, this sense of I is always there. And then because of which, anything from the ocean, from the forest, or from the town, city, wherever, anything which is conducive, you feel attached. Anything which is unconducive, you feel averse to. So, in fact, as long as you cling to this ego, there is always the problems attracted by this ego. So therefore, the need to tackle or need to understand how everything is dreamlike, including the self, is crucially required.
When the wise comprehend the differences between these two, why would they not at that point revere you from the depths of their being?
Okay, so seeing that one who is averse to this teaching as to how everything is dreamlike, and the Buddha on the other hand is teaching everything is dreamlike. So seeing the difference, naturally, if you are intelligent, wise, you will be inclined towards the Buddha's teaching that everything is dreamlike.
Let alone your numerous teachings, even in the meaning of a small part, those who find ascertainment in a cursory way, this brings supreme bliss to them as well.
Okay, so this understanding of dependent origination and the dreamlike nature, so even a slight understanding of this would give such a joy in a person, and then this would, in fact, this understanding can help unfold the other understandings as well.
Alas, my mind was defeated by ignorance, though I have sought refuge for a long time in such an embodiment of excellence. I possess not a fraction of his qualities.
Okay, so what he is saying is that, he is giving the background of writing this. Originally, he studied the very sophisticated, many volumes of the teachings on this emptiness, but he is saying that he couldn't fathom the depth, even a part of the depth of the Buddha's teaching. So this is expressing his grief over not being able to follow the Buddha's teaching so well. Yeah.
Nonetheless, before the stream of this life flowing towards death has come to cease, that I have found slight faith in you, even this I think is fortunate. Okay, so now, with all his efforts, he said that up to a certain point, he failed to understand the depth of the Buddha's teaching. And however, now that day by day he is approaching death. So fortunately, before the actual death occurs, his understanding came into blossoming. And because of which, a faith in the Buddha, the faith out of wisdom, dawned in him. Yeah. Among teachers, the teachers of dependent origination, amongst wisdoms, the knowledge of dependent origination, you who are most excellent, like the kings in the worlds, know this perfectly well, not others.
Okay. So, it is not simply confined to the Buddha alone. The thing is that anyone out of the different wisdoms, or out of the teachings, out of the different teachings, whosoever value the teaching of dependent origination as the most important thing, and out of all the wisdoms, the wisdom to see the dependent origination as the most important wisdom, so that is the person whom you are to revere, right? And others, without having any knowledge of this dependent origination, and then considering something less important, inferior thing as more important, so these are not really the teachers to be venerated as we venerate the Buddha.
All that you have taught proceeds by way of dependent origination. That too is done for the sake of nirvana. You have no deeds that do not bring peace.
Okay. So all teachings the Buddha gave, they're all meant to help the beings to take them to nirvana. And what really takes the beings to nirvana is a teaching on the dreamlike nature of phenomena. And that in turn needs to be discerned by the understanding of dependent origination. So in short, all teachings, somehow they are connected in explicitly or implicitly, directly or indirectly, are connected to the teaching on dependent origination.
Alas, your teaching is such that in whosoever's ear it falls, they all attain peace. So, who would not be honored to uphold your teachings?
Yeah. So this is what he is explaining from his experience. Say, on the experience level, when you are with the stranger, and however kind the stranger might be, the small child may not feel absolutely peaceful. But when the child is with the parents, it feels so secure and so comforting, right? So this is the child's experience. So like that, so when you understand dependent origination in the light of illusion-like nature, then a very profound comfort and ease comes to your mind. Whereas when you listen to other teachings like teaching on impermanence or other teachings, the sense of comfort is not to that extent. So naturally, you see that the teaching of dependent origination is much subtler as compared to others.
It overcomes all opposing challenges. It's free from contradictions between earlier and latter parts. It grants fulfillments of being's two aims. For this system, my joy increases evermore.
Okay. So, by following this teaching of dependent origination, what happens is that you feel no contradiction. Say there is no room left where there's a question mark. Everything is so well connected, so well there's such a coherency in explanation, and they're so well supported by reasons. And as such, there's no doubt at all left. Oh, what? There is this missing explanatory gap. So what is this? There's nothing of such sort. Everything is so well connected and explained. And then on the basis of that, on the basis of this understanding, it's not simply like 2 plus 2 equals 4, then 4 plus 1 equals 5. Not like that. Although it is so coherent, but it has no specific purpose. But with this dependent origination, with such incredible sophistication and coherence, there is a very profound purpose of two purposes. Two aims. One, the immediate aim to achieve happiness while you are in samsara, and the second aim is the aim to achieve nirvana and Buddhahood. Right? So both can be achieved only through this understanding of dependent origination.
For its sake, you have given away again and again over countless eons, sometimes your body, at others your life, as well as your loving kin and resources of wealth.
Okay, so this teaching, how the Buddha came to discover it, how the Buddha came to know about it, is not like the Buddha, simply attended a college and the professor taught him, then he understood it, and then he started teaching him. Not like that. He made such a great sacrifice of so many things in order to acquire this knowledge. Yeah.
Seeing the qualities of this teaching pulls hard from your heart, just like what a hook does to a fish. Sad it is not to have heard it from you.
Okay, so this teaching on dependent origination. So the author, when he really understands it, experiences it, then it's as though like, he's being pulled. So there are two different versions. He's being pulled towards the Buddha's heart, towards the Buddha's heart with such a great passion, wanting to see this Buddha, this teacher who taught this immaculate, very profound teaching of dependent origination. So like a hook, and catching a fish. So the Buddha's mind or the Buddha's heart catches the author's attention and the author's passion. Yeah.
The intensity of that sorrow does not let go of my mind. Just like the mind of a mother constantly goes after her dear child.
Okay, so the author, after realizing how profound this teaching is, and he was simply ruminating as to how the Buddha at one point, 2,500 years ago, at one point, this great teacher, he taught this teaching in a very living, a way to the fortunate disciples. So how unfortunate I am not to be one of them, to have listened to the teaching directly from him. Yeah, so like a child who misses his or her mother's affection, right? So like that, the author feels such a sense of missing of the Buddha's presence.
Here too, as I reflect on your words, I think, within inverted commas, blazing with the glory of noble marks and hallowed in a net of light rays, this teacher, in a voice of pristine melody, spoke thus in such a way.
Okay. So now, this author, because he is very much captivated by the wonder, by the subtlety, by the enormity of the knowledge and the compassion of the Buddha, he's simply again trying to visualize the Buddha, Buddha with the hallowed, with noble marks, with the halo, and then teaching this dependent origination with such a melody. So these are all what he's imagining. The author is imagining out of great passion that he felt towards the Buddha. Yeah.
The instant such a reflection of a sage's form appears in my mind, it soothes me, just as the moon rays heal fever's pains.
Okay, so just as say when you suffer from scorching heat, and then on the full moon day in the evening, in the night, when you sit outside, there's a full moon, and the full moon rays is so very soothing to your body. So like that, this pain or the kind of sense of loss the author feels over not having seen the Buddha directly. So when he thinks about the Buddha in the form of the noble marks and the halo and the melodious sound and so forth, voice and so forth, he feels such a soothing feeling. Yeah.
This excellent system, most marvelous, some individuals who are not so learned have entangled it in utter confusion, just like the tangled balbaza grass.
Actually, not actually someone. Okay, so that we can check it. Actually, he's referring to himself. Because at one point, before he fully understood this concept of how everything is dreamlike, he started, trying to understand this. He started reading all the books and reflecting on, meditating. Then, the more he learned, the more confused he became. So, like the balbaza grass, yeah, balbaza grass. Even I don't know. I don't identify what this balbaza grass is. It is believed that this grass they grow in such a way that they all simply tangle. And mesh each other. Yeah.
Seeing this situation, I strove with a multitude of efforts to follow after the learned ones, and sought your intention again and again.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Then?
At such times as I studied the numerous works of both our own middle way and other schools, my mind became tormented even more, constantly by a network of doubts.
Okay, so now, seems like how translated is correct. Yeah. So there's so many confusions, and then the author, trying to solve this confusion, he tries to learn all these, the different treatises of the text, and then realize that he himself became more confused. Yeah.
So the night lily groves of Nagarjuna's treatise, Nagarjuna, whom you prophesied, would unravel your unexcelled vehicle as it is, shunning extremes of existence and non-existence. Illuminated by the garland of white lights, of Chandra's well-uttered insights, Chandra, whose stainless wisdom orb is full, who glides freely across scripture's space.
Okay, so now what he is saying is that what the author is saying is that the author is referring to Nagarjuna and Chandrakirti. Yeah. So Nagarjuna, so what he's saying is referring to these great saints, these two saints, and then particularly to their writings on the ultimate reality. Nagarjuna's writing of primarily the writing of the Mula Madhyamika Karika. Mula Madhyamika Karika, the fundamental wisdom of the middle way, which is available in English, and then the book that, Ocean of Reasoning, actually it contains the root text as well as the commentary by this author. And then Acharya Chandrakirti, he illuminated what Nagarjuna wrote, illuminated in the form with the title Supplement to the Middle Way or Entry into the Middle Way, right? So then the author relied on these two treatises by Nagarjuna and Acharya Chandrakirti. Yep.
Who dispels the darkness of extremist hearts and outshines the constellations of false speakers, when through my teacher's kindness I saw this, my mind found a rest at last.
Okay. So earlier with all these confusions, later on when he relied on Nagarjuna's fundamental Mula Madhyamika Karika and Acharya Chandrakirti's Madhyamika Avatara, engaging into the middle way, entering the middle way. So by depending on these, and that too with the help of his own teacher. So his teacher primarily is Manjushri. And then Manjushri, the Buddha of wisdom, and the other one is Shinulutu. Yeah, his other teacher, the human teacher, but the principal teacher is Rendawa Shinulutu. And then is in the form of the divine being, it is Manjushri who's his teacher, both of them. Yeah. So with the help of these two teachers, he is unable to unfold the true intention of Nagarjuna, which is further commented by Acharya Chandrakirti.
He is able to unfold.
Yeah, able to.
Yeah. Of all your deeds, your speech is supreme. Within that too, it is this very speech. So the wise should remember the Buddha through this teaching of dependent origination.
Okay, so this is very much in line with what Guruji did, So at the moment we have all these, temples. Then gradually people return their attention from the temples to the books, Granda Mandir. So this is exactly what is said. Of all the deeds of the Buddhas, the Buddha who, as I said earlier, who displayed such wonderful miracles and who made the prophecy, the future, who saw through the past, all these things, and then also giving teachings on dependent origination. Of all these different deeds, this deed on the teaching of dependent origination, this is the supreme. And if one really feels like recalling the Buddha's kindness and the deeds, it is through recollecting the Buddha's having taught dependent origination rather than remembering the Buddha having demonstrated miracles.
Following such a teacher and having become a renunciate, having studied the conqueror's words not too poorly, this monk who strives in the yogic practices, such is the depth of his reverence to the great seer.
Okay, so the author is referring to himself. He's the renunciate, seeking enlightenment, and a monk, and then great aspirant of this teaching of dependent origination. Finally gets a very profound veneration, a sense of profound veneration to the Buddha on the basis of him having taught dependent origination. Yeah.
Since it is due to my teacher's kindness, I have met with the teachings of the unexcelled teacher. I dedicate this virtue too towards the cause for all beings to be sustained by sublime spiritual mentors.
Okay. So now he being able to gain the experience of this profound ultimate reality is due to the kindness of his spiritual teachers. Now he's dedicating his virtues towards all other sentient beings encountering with such a sublime teachers, so that all other sentient beings as well will one day discover this ultimate reality.
Sublime spiritual mentors.
No. So they meet with sublime spiritual mentors, thereby they discover this dreamlike nature of all phenomena, and they achieve enlightenment. This is the dedication, yeah.
May the teachings of this beneficent one till world's end be unshaken by the winds of evil thoughts. May it always be filled with those who find conviction in the teacher by understanding the teacher's true nature.
Okay. Now, this teaching on dependent origination, as he has been citing every now and then in the earlier stanzas, say for example, about this dreamlike nature, there are so many teachers again, and some teachers, their understanding their understanding could be like 80%, others could be like 50%, others could be like 100%, others could be like just 20%, and yet very eloquent. So these people whose understanding is just 20% and yet so eloquent, they can easily spoil, or they can easily, obscure the original profound teaching of dependent origination. So the author is saying prayers that may this teaching forever remain so pure and undefiled by the mistaken thoughts, or half-baked understandings, right? And may this teaching live long. This is prayer. Yeah.
May I never falter, even for an instant, to uphold the excellent way of the sage, which illuminates the principle of dependent origination. Through all my births, even giving away my body and life.
Yeah, so finally seeing the value, incredible value of this understanding of this dependent origination, the teaching of dependent origination, the author vows that under any cost, may he be able to uphold this teaching so that he can, guide many beings towards enlightenment, even if it would cost his own life. Yeah.
May I spend day and night carefully reflecting by what means can I enhance this teaching achieved by the Supreme Saviour through strenuous efforts over countless yawns.
Yeah, that's quite clear. Yeah.
As I strive in this with pure intention, may Brahma, Indra and the world's guardians and protectors such as Mahakala unswervingly always assist me.
Okay, now he is invoking these very powerful spirits and the powerful Dharma protectors to assist him to guard this teaching. Yeah, 3 levels of dependent origination. So this, because of this, I like to repeat it. Sudakshina asking me as to the understanding of dependent origination emptiness, it is coming whether it is still intellectual or experiential. Then I told her that only when you have these goosebumps coming on you with this understanding, it is experiential. Otherwise, still intellectual, right? And then to get to that experiential level, simply meditating will not happen, will not really take you there. So meditating is like cooking the food. To cook the food, you must have all the rich ingredients and all the facilities so well intact. Only then you do cooking, and then there's a passion in cooking, and when you cook, the food will come out so delicious. So likewise, you must be so rich in the learning of this concept, reading materials, listening to the teachings of this teaching so often, and then trying to look at from this angle, that angle, and so forth. And then also meditating, listening, reflecting, and meditating. Combined together, making it so rich, then eventually, slowly, there's a chance that, goosebumps can come on your body. Okay. So, even if the goosebumps comes, it does not mean that you are striking the subtlest level of dependent origination. Because the understanding of dependent origination, it has so many layers. And broadly speaking, roughly speaking, can be spoken of in 3 levels. The first one, even by gaining experience of the first level of dependent origination, goosebumps can come on you, body. And likewise the second one. And of course the third one. So the first one is dependent origination of dependence on causes and conditions. Second one is dependent origination of the whole, the object as a whole's dependence on its parts. Then the third one is dependent origination of the object's dependence on mental designation. So third one goes in line with how everything is dreamlike, mental imputation. Yeah. So when you get to the third level, then the goosebumps would be really very strong. Yeah.
Another one is this 37 practices.
Uh-huh.
On the 29th practice where we are talking about samadhi, shamatha and vipassana, and the 4 formless states. In that you told us about infinite space concentration, infinite consciousness concentration, nothingness concentration, and then peak of samsara is the last one.
Yeah.
So I'm a little confused about after nothingness, can there be another level?
So you need to know in what context this word nothingness is used. Nothingness is not used in the sense of there's nothing really there. In terms of the object. In terms of object, it cuts off all the objects. So the object-wise there is nothing. Okay. Now the fourth one is the peak of samsara, meaning not only not only making zero the object, is also think of making the subject zero. Your own mind, which thinks about the object.
You're talking about samsara, you're talking about your mind itself.
No. Samsara is samsara. So all these 4 are still within the bound of samsara. So the highest level of samsara is the peak of samsara. Is that state, is that realm which is referred to as peak of samsara, right? And there, why, in terms of the whole existence in samsara, that is the most refined level, peak of samsara. There, if you are to grade the level of the uneasiness of the mind, so that level is the least of the uneasiness of the mental. Peak of samsara. So therefore it is referred to as the peak of samsara.
So the subject's mind is also part of the samsara,
Of course. The subject mind, let's put it this way. Subject mind which is not, which is not accompanied by the wisdom which sees the emptiness nature.
Okay.
Right? Devoid of this wisdom, you simply go into samadhi. Even without this wisdom, you can go into samadhi. You know? And then you can go to a very deep samadhi. So this samadhi will take, at the most to this highest level within samsara. Right. So the kind of vipassana that we are to practice should the one which cross this peak of samsara. So that is only through the wisdom which sees everything as dreamlike.
So going to samadhi, how to go to samadhi first?
So basically the samadhi, as I said earlier, there are so many kinds. One of which is simply concentrating on a breath. Simply concentrating on a breath. And this will, it has so many layers of subtlety. The more you are experienced, the deeper you go into samadhi. And then at one point, you just don't really feel yourself. You are so immersed into this breath. Right? This one kind of samadhi. Another samadhi is thinking about the drawbacks of the desire realm. Thinking about the qualities of the form realm and formless realm. Right? And then, with this, simply focus on that. Cutting yourself from all forms of distractions. Focus on that. And then switching between these two. Right? Between seeing the defects of samsara, not seeing the defects of desire realm, and seeing the qualities of the form realm. Switching between these two. Then the samadhi again goes too deep. And then with the formless, as I said earlier, simply thinking about, everything as space-like. Everything pervaded by space. There is no form at all. And then simply immerse yourself in this meditation, samadhi. And then the next stage is imagining everything is pervaded by your consciousness, your own mind. Again remaining in samadhi. Then the next one is, even the consciousness you try to, disconnect. Simply, your mind without object.
That is
The
nothingness.
Yeah. Then the next one, still higher is, object-wise is the same. Now the subject-wise, at the level of the nothingness, the subject mind is so active. Then at the peak of samsara, the fourth level, you even reduce the subject. You reduce the subject, the activeness of this mind. So the mind becomes so feeble, very feeble. And it says that, there's a specific technique of meditation whereby you try to make your mind more and more subtle. Unlike this meditation, the samadhi to get to the peak of samsara. The samadhi to get to the peak of samsara, as the mind becomes more and more subtle, the mind becomes more and more dull. The clarity is lost. Whereas the other technique, the tantric technique, there is one tantric technique. So by this technique, the mind becomes more and more subtle, the mind becomes clearer and clearer.
So my question is, in the space, concentration, consciousness, concentration and nothingness, the mind has an active role to play.
Absolutely.
And in the fourth one, peak of samsara, the mind is more reticent and withdrawn.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that is the final form.
A final form within samsara.
Within samsara.
Yeah.
And then what you're talking about, that is another way, that is the tantric way, where the mind becomes subtler, at the same time more sharp and more
Penetrating, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that is after this peak of samsara.
I would say not necessarily after. Now look, so this is where we need to learn more. Right? Say, even with the mind of the form realm, not necessarily formless. Even with the mind of the form realm, you combine it with the wisdom. This mind of the form realm, then, as I say, usually the ordinary form realm mind, it is simply directed between, the desire realm, the drawbacks of desire realm, and then the qualities of the form realm, switching between these two. So this is the object. Now, the same quality of this mind changes this object. So, for example, I'm thinking of this mug all the time. Then, all of a sudden, Sudhakar asked me to look at the flower. Then, the same mind, it changes this object from the mug to the flower. So, like that, the same form mind, the mind of the form realm, same mind, which is originally directed towards something else, if you direct it towards the dreamlike nature, then it can go beyond the peak of samsara. It can transcend samsara altogether.
Okay. And in the third, fourth, leaving the body, to let go of this life, it is coming the fourth practice.
Yeah.
Friends and relatives acquainted for long with separate possessions, gained with exertion will be left behind. Consciousness, the guest will leave the guest house of the body, that's fine. To let go of this life is the practice of the Bodhisattva.
Yeah.
Now to let go, if you let go of the life, how will you practice?
Okay. So this we need to listen to the recording again.
Okay.
Right. So what it says is that the same stanza can be thought of or understood, can be read on different levels.
Okay.
So those people, like monks, those people who are like monks or nuns, who have no special responsibility for anything, right? They are they have a choice to, go for solitude or still remain in the society. They have a choice. So for them, the author is encouraging them to seek solitude. This is the most literal understanding. Now, for people like, for example, me, I'm a monk and I want to go to solitude, but I can't go, right? With obligations, right? Under such situation, this needs to be read slightly differently, right? So whatever traps my mind, simply for the concern of this life, needs to be given up.
Okay.
Right? While still in the society, say for example, you go to attend some meetings, you go to give some talks, or you go to, do some counseling with some people, or interacting with some people, or interacting with some other religious figures, whatever you do, don't do that with the intention that, I'll become famous, people will admire me, respect me more, they will be so appreciative of my,
attached to it.
Exactly, yeah. So, if you attach to such things, then this is the concern of this life.
That way.
So that needs to be given up. Then for people like you, in ashram, so whatever you do, if you do, by doing so, then people will revere me. All these things are poisonous thoughts. So these are the thoughts which bind you into just this life's concern, forgetting the future lives. So these concerns must be given up. So this is meaning.
Okay.
Yeah. 8 verses. The author is Geshe Langri Thangpa, and this author is believed to be again a great bodhisattva. In fact, this author, Geshe Langri Thangpa, he is also known, he is nicknamed as the wailing Geshe.
Oh, he is one.
Yeah, the wailing Geshe. And Geshe Thome Sangpo is the other bodhisattva, the author of the 37 practices. And this is another author, a great bodhisattva, and he is nicknamed as the wailing Geshe because is always, whoever goes to him, he's always weeping. And then he goes to, if I'm not wrong, Domdimba, who is the principal disciple of Adisha Dipankara. When he started accompanying Adisha Dipankara, then he had so many students in his native place. And then whenever there were visitors coming to see him, then he would ask, and he would inquire about his students. What is he doing? Then the visitor would say, oh, he is really doing a great job. He is giving extensive teachings to so many students. Then Domdimba would say, very good, very good. And what is he doing? Oh, he is so intensely into retreat. He is meditating whole day long. Oh, very good, very good. And what is he doing? Oh, he is just doing purification practice, making prostrations whole day long. Very good, very good. And what is he doing? Very likely he's the one. What is he doing? I don't know what he's doing. He's just walking here and then getting to some point, he stops, he would again weep, again come back, and again he would stop and he would weep. Then at that point, he folded his hands. Says that he's the one who is actually doing the genuine practice. Because, he's practicing bodhicitta. Yeah. So therefore he's nicknamed as the wailing Geshe, who always wails and cries. Yeah. Domden gelwe chungne. Domden ba.
That's spelling.
D-R-O-M. Drom. T-O-N. T-T-T, not D. O-N. P-A. Domden ba. Yeah. Okay.
He is Geshe Dipankara's
principal disciple and also the emanation of Aramajishri. No, Avalokiteshvara.
and Guru of Geshe Langri Thangpa.
Yeah. Okay. So the 8 verses on mind training by Geshe Langri Thangpa, with a determination to achieve the highest aim for the benefit of all sentient beings, which surpasses even the wish-fulfilling gem, may I hold them dear at all times. Okay. So, again, this practice is just for your information. Bodhicitta, which by now you know quite well. Bodhicitta, right? To make it a little more technical, it is of 2 kinds. In a loose sense, 2 kinds. Conventional bodhicitta and the ultimate bodhicitta. Conventional bodhicitta and the bodhicitta, these 2 mean the same. But as I said, in a loose sense, bodhicitta is in 2 kinds, conventional and the ultimate bodhicitta. Ultimate bodhicitta is not bodhicitta. Conventional bodhicitta and the bodhicitta, these 2 are synonymous. Right? So whenever we speak about bodhicitta, immediately you think about the conventional bodhicitta. Ultimate bodhicitta is the wisdom which sees emptiness directly and complemented by the conventional bodhicitta. Right? A wisdom which sees emptiness directly, and this wisdom complemented, backed by the conventional bodhicitta which we have been discussing earlier. Right? Okay, this is the ultimate bodhicitta. Okay, so this is just for information. And then, now this 8 verses of mind training. So this is just on bodhicitta. And Stanza 7. No. Stanza 8. Stanza 8 touches on the ultimate bodhicitta very briefly. Otherwise, stanza 1 through to stanza 7 is just connected with the conventional bodhicitta, the bodhicitta that we have been discussing earlier. Okay, the first one. And, other than stanza 8, so since that we have already done the 37 practices, right, they are much more the same. The only thing is that maybe there is slight variation in how, things are put. Stanza 8 needs a little bit of explanation. Otherwise, stanza 1 through to 7 is pretty easy to understand. With the determination to achieve the highest aim is to become a Buddha, to perfect yourself, for the benefit of all sentient beings, which surpasses even the wish-fulfilling gem. Okay, I don't know. So this is translated by Tuten Jimba. I might go for another translation rather than this. I'm not too sure. Anyway, for the time being, let's stick to this translation, because he may read this stanza in his own way and I may read it in my own way. So I may read it slightly differently. Okay, so for the time being, how he has translated: with the determination to achieve the highest aim for the benefit of all sentient beings, which surpasses even the wish-fulfilling gem, may I hold them dear at all times. So, in fact, here you are trying to enhance your compassion, your affection towards all the mother sentient beings, seeing them as more important than the wish-fulfilling gem. And it is said that it is believed that the wish-fulfilling gem, of course, in the Buddhist traditions, in the Hindu traditions, and I don't know about Christianity or others, but Hinduism and Buddhism, for sure, there is a discussion about the wish-fulfilling gem. And the wish-fulfilling gem, the characteristic of that is said as whatever wish that you express in front of this wish-fulfilling gem, associated with this life, will be answered, but will not answer, your wish associated with the next lives onward. They are not answered by the wish-fulfilling gem. This is the limitation. Everything associated with this life, this wish-fulfilling gem can grant your wish. Then whereas the sentient beings, and then again, this wish-fulfilling gem cannot give you Buddhahood. Even if you say that, oh, please make me a Buddha now, it cannot. Only what is, associated with this life, this wealth, this life's wealth, or good health, or wealth, these can be granted, but not others. Whereas the sentient beings, they surpass the wish-fulfilling gem. Because the sentient beings, they can give you Buddhahood with practice of bodhicitta, which is associated with the sentient beings. You can become a Buddha. So the sentient beings, they outshine or they surpass even the wish-fulfilling gem. So because that, if there is a wish-fulfilling gem, you would treasure it so much, you will cherish it so much. So since that sentient beings, they surpass even the wish-fulfilling gem, we need to cherish the sentient beings more so than you do to the wish-fulfilling gem. Number 2, whenever I interact with someone, may I view myself as the lowest amongst all, and from the very depths of my heart, respectfully hold others as superior. Okay, so this is talking about our daily interaction with other people. So when we interact with other people, so just introspect how we interact with other people, how we interact with our own, group. Say like your children or your parents, and with the outsider, how do you interact? What's the difference? So when you see the difference, then you be mindful of the second stanza. Whenever I interact with someone, stanza 1 and stanza 2 both. Whenever I interact with someone, may I view myself as the lowest amongst all. So here, lowest, it doesn't mean that, you are inferior, others are superior, not in that sense. Simply, when you have a sense of ego, it immediately cuts your affection towards others. Right? So this is to undermine your ego. When the ego is undermined, then there's a room for bodhicitta to arise in you. There's a room for compassion to arise in you. Right? So whenever I interact with someone, may I view myself as the lowest among all. So it's a direct combat to this ego. And from the very depths of my heart, respectfully hold others as superior. 3. In all my deeds, may I probe into my mind, and as soon as mental and emotional affliction arise, as they endanger myself and others, may I strongly confront them and avert them. So, again, on a daily basis, we are to introspect ourselves as to what's going on in my mind. So when you see that negative emotions do arise in us, immediately being mindful that these negative emotions, they really harm yourself and harm others. They are very dangerous. As such, the moment they arise, may I be able to combat them, confront them, and eliminate them. Number 4, when I see beings of unpleasant character oppressed by strong negativity and suffering, may I hold them dear, for they are not rare to find, as if I've discovered a jewel treasure. Okay, so imagine if you find just among the rubbish, garbage, if you find a solid diamond or a gold, then you would be so excited and you would be so happy. So like that, these, among the other beings, those who are oppressed by strong negativity and suffering and pain, So what we tend to do is that we tend to, say for example, if there's someone who is very nasty, right, very aggressive, so badly mannered, then you feel repulsive. You feel disgusted, right? But in actuality, disgusted meaning a sense of affection is not there. Affection is cut, right? So without affection towards all sentient beings, you can't really achieve Buddhahood. So Buddhahood is the greatest of the treasure. So because of you losing affection towards this person who seems to be nasty, you are kicking away your Buddhahood. You are kicking away the most precious of everything, right? So what gives you this precious Buddhahood to you is the compassion and affection towards these people who are filled with negativities and bad things. So, you should be cherishing these people. You should be feeling so grateful towards these people and maintain patience, maintain affection towards these people. And then likewise, people who are suffering from sickness, suffering from poverty. Of course, for them, we can reach out more easily, right? So may I hold them dear, for they are rare to find, as if I've discovered a jewel treasure. So among hundreds of people coming to visit the ashram, how many of them come with these problems? So rare. So these people are so rare, and just as it is so rare to find a jewel, it is so rare to find a diamond among the garbage, it is so rare to find these people who has the ability to give rise to Buddhahood in you. Okay, fine. When others out of jealousy treat me wrongly with abuse, slander and scorn, may I take upon myself the defeat and offer to others the victory. So again, these are all means to, to avoid those factors which are detrimental to you in generating bodhicitta. Right.
So bodhicitta and compassion is the same?
No. Compassion.
Bodhicitta is a practice of compassion.
Not really. So we think about the sevenfold cause of a relationship. Number 1 is Marshe, which is recalling every being as one's mother. Number 2 is recalling their kindness. Number 3 is wanting to repay their kindness. Number 4 is viewing them in the light of great affection. Then number 5 is great compassion. Then number 6 is altruism. Only number 7 is bodhicitta.
Okay.
Senke. Which means that number 5, which is great compassion, it is like the root for giving rise to bodhicitta. Then this bodhicitta will give rise to Buddhahood. Yeah. Okay. When others out of jealousy treat me wrongly with abuse, slander and scorn, may I take upon myself the defeat and offer to others the victory. Okay. So, the Bodhisattva practice, associated with the Bodhisattva practice, we need to think of 2 things. One, with yourself, personally with yourself. And the others associated with the larger group, like the ashram and so forth. When it comes to yourself, it is advised always to take the defeat, always to take the loss. In actuality, by taking loss, it is not that you are losing something. In fact, you are undermining your self-centered attitude. When the self-centered attitude is undermined, then the bodhicitta, it leaves the room for the compassion to come in. It leaves the room for other cherishing to come in. So with this other cherishing, then the bodhicitta can blossom in you. So this is the whole purpose. Whereas when it comes to the larger interest, like ashram and for someone else, then if somebody comes to abuse, slander, so forth, then you might have to take appropriate measure, but not without losing compassion. Okay. 6. When someone whom I've helped, so this is what I've already explained earlier, when someone whom I've helped or in whom I have placed great hopes mistreats me in extremely hurtful ways, may I regard him still as my precious teacher. So if I explain how I read it, then this can be understood so easily. Say, there's a person and who was with you since 4, 5, 6 years old, since childhood. And then you have been raising this person purely out of affection and compassion. Then this child, this man or this woman, after getting age 30 or 40, and then started to started to cause so much harm on you, mistreats you so badly, perhaps imprison you, putting you in prison and so forth. So that's terrible. You can't really think of it. So if there is someone else who is totally unrelated to you, and then puts you in prison, and this person whom you have been raised, whom you raised for the last 30 years, and then puts you in prison, you will feel acutely, hurt and angry towards the first person. Right. So, because when you have done so much good to someone, naturally there is an expectation coming, feeling of expectation coming, that in future at least this person will not harm me. If not, this person will help me. Right. So this is a natural expectation coming. With this amount of expectation that you have, after you giving so much of help and goodness towards that person, then if the other person mistreats you so badly, this is the situation that, is what can trigger the worst of the anger in you. So that is the situation where we should be mindful, if you really appreciate bodhicitta, this is the situation which you should take as the opportunity to, say no to anger. Because anger is the detrimental factor for bodhicitta to grow in us, right? So it says, when someone whom I've helped so much, in whom I place great hopes, instead of awe, right? Instead of awe, because these two are not two different persons. It's the same person in whom I've helped so much, now expecting great hopes, having great hopes in that person. When that person mistreats me in extremely hurtful ways, may I regard him still as my precious teacher. Because teacher is someone who points to a mistake. Now he is the one who is pointing to your subtleness of the anger, subtleness of the tendency of the anger. So therefore he is the great teacher. In brief, May I offer benefit and joy to all my mothers, both directly and indirectly. May I quietly take upon myself all hurts and pains of my mothers. Pretty easy, right? May all these remain undefiled by the stains of the 8 mundane concerns. Okay. May I recognize all things as illusion, devoid of clinging, be released from bondage. Okay, yeah, it's fine. So the 8th stanza is, primarily about viewing everything as dreamlike and everything in the light of emptiness. So it says, may all these remain undefiled by the stains of the 8 mundane concerns. So what are the 8 mundane concerns? So the 8 mundane concerns are our thoughts which trap us in samsara. So the 8 mundane concerns, number 1 is seeking material gains. Seeking material. Okay, let's put it this way: not just seeking. So with seeking material gains, there are 2, right? Seeking material gains, there are 2, which means when you get material gains, you are excited, you are happy. When you lose material gains, you feel extremely low. These are the first two mundane concerns. Whereas if you are a spiritual person, if you're really genuinely spiritually following, inclined, then when something material gains comes to you, okay, it's good, but not overly excited. But when you lose it, then you don't become you are not overwhelmed by becoming low. Okay, it's fine, it's impermanence. Like Guruji, someone who stole the money and then asking the Guruji to contact Sudhakar so that he'll be arrested. Then Guruji said, okay, somebody gave it to me, and then now it may not be I may not have his use, the person might have greater use, so this goes to him, that's why. So he's not being saddened by losing that. So this is combating the mundane concerns. Okay, the first 2. Then feeling pleasure at hearing praise, and becoming saddened at hearing abuse or deprecation. Yeah. So when somebody praises you, you become so overly excited. When somebody accuses you or when somebody talks badly of you, then you feel so low. These are another 2. Okay. Then when somebody just talks idle gossips, very pleasant talks, then you're so happy. And then, whereas, when somebody talks something very this bad thing happened to that, then you feel so low, It's not really about the praise and the deprecation, but rather about, something which you like to hear. Talks about the movie, you're so excited. Then talks, this person is sick, this person is, this is this problem, bro. When, all problems you hear, then you become overly, stressful. This is another worldly concerns. 2. Not really. Getting excited over the nice words, and feeling sad over hearing the bad words. And then finally, when you feel happy, say you become excited when you become happy. And then when misfortunes happen to you, you become so low. Yeah. So these are the 8 mundane concerns.
So seeking material gain?
No. Seeking material gain has 2. With praise and deprecation, 2. Right? Gaining material gains, feeling excited. Losing material gains, depressed. Then hearing praise, no, not 1, 2.
2, sorry.
Then hearing praise,
feeling high, excited.
High. And then,
saddened by being accused or deprecated.
yeah. Then third, hearing some pleasant things, like about movies which you are fond of. You become excited. Hearing unpleasant things, you feel sad or low.
Okay.
Then finally, when you are happy, say when you're successful, let's better put it this way. When you're successful, you are excited. When you're unsuccessful, you become low.
So basically the extremes of emotions we're talking about, excited, depressed,
No, the extremes of
pleasure, pain.
emotions associated with these four things.
Okay. One is seeking material gain, and feeling pleasure at hearing. Seeking material gain is two.
With not say seeking, with material gains too.
Happy when you're gaining and depressed when you're losing. And then feeling pleasure at hearing praise and you're saddened by hearing abuse. Or hearing
Criticism.
Then third is getting excited over nice words and feeling depressed with not so nice words.
Yeah.
Somewhat related to gossip. And
Yeah,
nice
yeah,
things, films,
yeah.
this, that.
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And then being successful makes you happy. Not being successful makes
Not just happy, excited.
excited.
Yeah.
So the basically the two extremes of emotions related to these four things.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay. Then may I recognize all things as illusion. This is the final point associated with the ultimate bodhicitta, or the wisdom. And may I recognize all things as illusion, devoid of clinging, be released from bondage. So bondage is samsara. You say the cows, they are tied to the pillar. So this is bondage. So there's no freedom. So likewise, when we feel tied, when we feel bondage, when we feel tied to the truly existent phenomena, there's no truly existent phenomena. And then you create truly existent phenomena, and then you are bound to it. So this is bondage. This is samsara, right? Now what we need to do is that we need to remove this pillar. And the pillar is not really there. We made it, and then we tie ourselves to that, right? Now through wisdom, we see that there is no truly existent phenomena. Everything is dreamlike. There is no truly existent phenomena. You dismantle that pillar. So the pillar is not there, then you are free. This is nirvana. Right. So it says, and may I recognize all things as illusion, no truly existent phenomena, devoid of clinging. So you will be free from clinging, seeing that everything is dreamlike. And because you are free from clinging, you are released from the bondage. You are not bound. This is total freedom. This is really the freedom. Then once that freedom is stabilized, now we don't have to be bothered about our coming back into samsara. What about, after 100 lifetimes, about 1,000 lifetimes, unpredictable. We don't have to worry at all about it. It's already confirmed that you're totally freed. You're not going back to samsara anymore.